Hi, I'm Riley Harvey for V-Cycling News, and this is Moon Riders, Stage 4. We are on the Isle of Wight, and I am joined tonight by Ross, one of the Moon Riders himself. Say hello, Ross.
Hi Riley, hi everyone. Long-time listener, first-time presenter. Excited to be part of the V-Cycling News Network, and hopefully you can add a little bit of colour from the Moon Riders' perspective for you tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping you'll add a lot of colour and do the heavy lifting for me tonight, Ross.
I'm sure there's been a lot of action in the first three stages. You're maybe getting a bit tired. A lot of impressive performances so far.
Yeah, it's been a good racing series to watch. It looks like Moon Riders are doing what they intended to and have come out in force to win this series for themselves.
Yeah, well, they've got on the Discord channel tonight, or all day to be honest, they've been coming up with a few strategies for today, so we might see if it plays out, but I'll have to keep quiet about them at this stage. Don't want to be giving away too much information in case anyone's listening to this while they cycle.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of the riders who have this stream on as well as doing the racing, so they can keep up to date with what's happening in other bits of the race. What about the stage today? You probably know this stage better than me. I'm sure you've done a recce of it with the Moon Riders guys.
Well, I've hung up my V-Cycling wheels for a while, so I maybe haven't been as active these days. But the man that does know a lot about it, you might have seen him maybe at the front of races there of late, is Henry Farrell. So he's often, if you follow him on Strava, he's often riding around Isle of Wight and knows this circuit pretty well. So he designed it. And he tells me there's a bit of a sting in the opening 2 kilometers. This is where he would often do his intervals. And it might look easy on the profile here, but he says this could split up the race fairly quickly.
Yeah, the first section of the course is what they use for the hill climbing circuit, isn't it? The National Hill Climbing Champs.
Okay. So how fast did they go up it then? Those guys on their lightweight bikes, probably a couple of minutes, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a question of whether everyone hangs on here in the first 5 minutes, and we'll see what way the groups shake up, and then we'll see what tactics come out.
Fantastic. And Henry Farrell, he's got some tired legs this week. What's he been up to?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people who are maybe complaining about tired legs, that 3 stages already, but that wasn't enough for Henry. He went off on a big Audax cycle. I think it was 300 kilometers in the dark and everything, so maybe he'll play the supporting role here today. We'll see. Maybe it's all just mind games.
Yeah, that's the norm for him. He's always doing 300 kilometer Audaxes.
Well, that's it. But a lot of strong members in Moon Riders all right here, so hopefully they've got all their gear here. Some of them maybe are a bit forgetful as well. I know Thomas, he sometimes forgets which shoes to bring to races. He's known to have driven 300 kilometers to a race and only to realise that he hadn't had his shoes and had to drive back. So hopefully tonight he's sorted.
Yeah, I fell into that trap myself, so I can't say too much about that.
So Riley, who are your favourites for the stage today then? You've obviously been watching all 3 stages.
Well, it's difficult to look any further than Wouter at the moment, the way he's been racing. He's not finished in the top race finishing positions all the time, but he's always been up there. Good, the race is underway. Chatting too much there.
Do we have a few?
Second.
I think we've got a few other riders that have missed it. Well, there's Daniel, one of our Moon Riders, another strong rider. He's another man that he's an adopted Irishman like myself. He loves playing a bit of Irish music in his spare time if he's not cycling. But it looks like a big bunch starting off. It's great to see that the support for this series. I suppose it's maybe going down quite well. The format, 6 races out of 8. And I think the golden and the silver jerseys is a nice new addition as well. It keeps everyone interested, gives people something to work towards. So Gavin is doing, I'm guessing it's Gavin, he's doing some serious watts here, trying to get away. We mentioned it is a tough climb here for the first, I think, about 2 kilometers or so, maybe 3 kilometers. You could force a split here. So we can see no one else is tempted to join Mr. Gavin Ash at the minute, just being kept in check by the bunch so far.
But
yeah, we can see Daniel from Moonriders is up near the front. Maybe he's trying to work for, as you mentioned, Wight is well placed for Moonriders at the minute. And at the minute the gap isn't really opening up, it's holding fairly steady around 30 meters. So there's Henry now himself that we just talked about. It seems like his legs are having no problems at all after his 300 kilometers. So we'll see if he's still feeling good at the end. And we have Francois, our other excellent Belgian domestique. You've already ridden the Belgian circuit as part of the Moonriders Tour. I'm not sure if everyone knows the full story of the Moonriders Tour, but we're quite a diverse bunch of people from all around Europe mainly, but we've got some American and Canadian riders. And we tried to design this tour so that we would have stages in one of the countries from each of the members. So things starting to get strung out here a bit. As I said, it is a good 2 to 3 kilometer test here at the very start, and there's a bit of gaps starting to form. We've got about 6 riders away, but it's closing down slightly. And things are staying, it's a high pace but relatively calm, just under 400 watts for Francois. Doesn't sound that easy. I hope everyone has warmed up well before the race. It's not the nicest way to start this race. And we can see just a group of about 15 maybe starting to pull away. But still under control, and it looks like we're getting near the top of the climb, so I suspect that this is where people will be able to put in a bit of an effort over the top just to rejoin the group. This is probably the moment to just not let it go too far, and we can see a few of those riders are doing just that. So we have React Fitness team here at the minute, Juez and our Mr. Fox. They're just off the leading group, and we're putting out serious efforts here, over about nearly 10 watts per kilo, just to bridge back across. And this is kind of make or break moments where you just want to make sure that you're starting the downhill in the bunch, because it'll be very difficult to get on after. I think this is the crest of the hill now. So Fox and the Danish Headerdom, if they put in an effort here, work together, they should be able to get back on, but they just need to concentrate here. I can see Henry Farrell, he did make the leading group, so Riley's fear of his legs being burned out, it seems like maybe it was all mind games in the end. So Mr. Fox, he's able to use all his drafting abilities here at the minute, sitting just behind Headerdom. But now that he has accelerated on, he isn't getting the slipstream and he's been caught out. He's going to have to put out, he's putting out good watts here, 300 watts, and again, just off the back of the group, one big effort, he should be able to get it on. And we can see in the lead group at the minute, it looks like about 14 riders there. So we can see Mr. Ponton from France, we have another Dutch rider, Sviestra, we have Henry Farr, we have Daniel Schuck from Moon Riders. A lot of strong riders in here at the minute. You can see Mr. Samut there. I know I've seen him at the front of plenty of races. And we have a leader who's making a bit of an attack. And Samut is trying to get across, make it a 2-up, turn it into 2-man time trial early on. It would be fun to see if that could last. But it looks like everyone's just trying to, make sure that no one's sitting on, make sure that this group extends the lead, no one else can get back in, and leave it down to these 15 riders in the lead group. So if we just run through some of the names, so we have two Danish here, Mr. Hededam, and so they're moving very quickly through the bunch. It's hard to see everyone, but we have Wight, Daniel Schoch, S. Brearley, we have at least two Dutch riders as well, Swiestra, and the last rider to actually get into the group as well was another Dutch rider. But it looks like Moon Riders have quite a lot of options to play in this. It'll be interesting to see how they want to play it. Is it just a matter of controlling the group, or will they try and form a breakaway? Again, it just looks like maybe this group are wanting to push on here. Don't let anyone sit on easy. So we can see Jay Griffiths was active just over the top of the hill. He's active again. Just pushing it on, keeping everyone honest, and just trying to weed out any weak riders. And we have the yellow jersey at the minute, Wight. The yellow looks fantastic on him. He's no longer in the Moon Riders kit today. The yellow really suits him here. He does seem to be having control of the stages so far. We'll see how this result goes for him as well. So three of them are on the move, but Matt Looker is trying to bridge across. Another strong rider. Sorry, that's not him trying to bridge across, it's Samut, I believe. But that also helps drag everyone back together, and it seems like we're all back together, so no one content to let a breakaway go. Everyone's still feeling fresh-legged. And it's not megawatts at the minute, it's just a good solid tempo at the minute. So you can see here we're at about 340 watts as an attack goes in, up to nearly 400 watts. And this one looks like, oh, finally we're going to let a rider go. But is one rider on his own going to be able to do any damage? I suppose that's a question. We are getting a gap, 30 meters. But Mr. Hededam has kind of eased off the pedals a bit here. You can see he's down at about 3 watts per kilo, so I think he was hoping that someone would go with him, maybe a group of 2 or 3, or someone would bridge, but decided solo effort is not worth it by himself. So as I mentioned, Moon Riders have plenty of people in this bunch, plenty of cards to play. So we see Daniel going to the front, making a bit of an effort, but the bunch just not even willing to give him any inches of space. And you can see just whenever there's no attack going on, the watts just come back down. We're riding kind of fairly relaxed tempo, but as I say that, it looks like Hededam is going to put in a bit of an attack here. He was sitting at 350 watts. Has eased off once he got to the front. Maybe he's just managing his position here. It's kind of an interesting part of RGT, probably much more engaging than the other platforms. It's that position really does make a difference. You know exactly where you are in the bunch, and can help just make sure that you don't miss any breaks that go, or you can put the pressure on. But at the minute, I think people are maybe waiting until the next climb before we really see the fireworks going off. We're on a flat section here. We've kind of made the selection, about 15 riders in the main group. Unless you're going to get away with about 2 or 3 other very strong riders, there's no point on burning too much here on the flat. So I think we're probably going to have, we'll probably keep together until the next climb, but you can see that people are still willing to put a bit of an effort. So I think this is Matt Looker. Is he one of the strong riders from Isle of Man, I believe? I think he does pretty well in a lot of these races. To be honest, I'm sure if people are watching or have been racing RGT, you know all these names at this stage. They're always at the top of the races. It's another great thing about RGT. You really recognize the names. You begin to know people's strengths and weaknesses. But these riders, it almost feels like they don't have weaknesses at times. They can do it on the flat stages, they can do it on the hilly. And as I said that we were going to have a nice quiet period, guys have just put out a big attack here just on the left. You would have seen everybody's numbers all in the red, strung out, and we've got a bit of a split here. So we'll see, are people willing to push on? Do the people at the back, are they going to be able to put in an effort, make it back on? So we have Wight, the yellow jersey, always very attentive to all the attacks, always seems to be in the right position. We have Mr. Brearley, Mr. Steinle, another Moon Riders, Daniel Schoch. We have the Danish rider Hedebam, who seems to be very active, and Griffiths, who also is very active the whole stage here. But I believe it's Christophe Canton, so he's just dragging everyone else back. So chapeau to the Frenchman, just making sure that he gets back in and helps everyone else back together. Now hopefully my biased opinion doesn't come true here, but that's great for the Moon Riders team. Make sure that they keep 4 people in this leading group. And here goes Gav, the counter attack. I suppose this is maybe typical tactics. Wait until it all comes back together, someone eases off the pedals and you go hard. But everybody seems attentive to that. And again, it's just coming to nothing at the minute. So we're back riding a strong tempo, but oh, this Danish man, I'm finding it hard to believe he's just got so much energy today. I don't know, in Ireland it's got cold today. In my shed here, it's freezing. I've got the winter coat on. It's probably perfect for a bit of indoor cycling to go harder than ever. I'm guessing in Denmark it's even colder, and he's just loving this. He's able to put out the big watts on the turbo, no sweat, nothing. Cold weather just allowing you to go harder. And this is a serious attack here. He's opened up 50 meters. This is the biggest gap we've had so far, with no real reaction so far. The last time we saw him do this, he went away by himself. He eased off to about 3 watts per kilo and just wanted to see if someone was going to bridge across. So at the minute, this gap has gone out to 80 meters. The rest of the bunch seems to be, you know, fairly relaxed at the minute, keeping it together. No one's trying to bridge across. But this is a serious effort here. You can see that Hededam has increased his watts here again after he got the initial gap, and now he's back up to 450 watts. So he's going to try and commit here. We're getting a slight incline, I believe. So this might have been the plan. Just get a slight gap before a slight incline. I can't actually see the kind of the elevation at the bottom that maybe some of you can, but I believe this is just starting a slight drag at the minute. And we can see we actually have 2 riders bridging across, so it's 2 Moon Riders. They have a bit of a gap, it's nothing serious. We have 1 other rider coming across, so we've got 4 here at the minute, if everyone can join up. So of course it's Mr. Griffiths, who has been exceptionally strong, Whiter, who doesn't seem to miss a break, and Daniel Schoch, also another Moon Rider. And everybody's got to work hard here. It's just starting to get strung out. Everybody's trying to hold wheels. No easy drafting here for anyone at the minute. And we're doing some serious watts here, Walter. 350 watts, just taking it back. Maybe not worthwhile at this stage to go any harder at the minute. And we're approaching about a third of the way through the stage at the minute. Very active. This group got away on the first climb straight away, but no one's been willing to just sit in and ride happily until the future. They're all trying to break it up, try and make the selection, but so far nothing is just stuck. Everyone's just got fresh legs at this stage, but I'm sure all these attacks are starting to put a sting in some people's legs. And you know, we've just got another attack going, and eventually one of these attacks, it's just going to snap. The elastic band's going to snap. People's legs are not going to be able to respond. So we have Christophe Canton and the effervescent Hededam from Denmark. Looks like they're trying to put in a big effort, 5 watts per kilo, and trying to get away. Small gap so far, nothing to panic about, just about 20 meters. And again, seems under control. I think you really need to put in big efforts to really get away on RGT. You can't do it half measured. But we're really seeing an impressive ride from this Danish man here tonight, and seems to be in every attack that goes. I'm probably expecting Griffiths to counter-attack because he's the other man that's always at the front. So, you know, just as I say that, he comes to the front, just riding tempo at the minute. And we can see we still get this group of about 14 riders. So some people that are in this front group that are maybe keeping their cards close to the chest, we've got Mr. Brearley, Mr. Steinle, Mr. Gray, maybe playing a very smart game here. They haven't been on the front, but have been sitting in and maybe just conserving their energy for the decisive moments, and we're coming up to one of those now. So we have Matt Looker here putting in a real serious attack. You can see everyone has to respond hard. Everyone's numbers have gone red. We're talking 8 watts per kilo here, 7 watts per kilo, and it's strung out. We've got about 4 riders here, looking like it might get a bit of a gap. So we have Wight, Hededam, we have Looker and Brearley. Brearley, one of the riders I called out who was hiding very well in the group, maybe saving his energy for a decisive moment, and it seems like it's paying off for him. But Wight, you know, he's really trying to push on here. I think he senses a bit of tiredness in the bunch, and that if he pushes on, he can maybe force this breakaway with another 3 riders. So you can see here he's got a bit of a gap with 3 riders in the middle, in the gap, but it looks like they're going to be brought back, and that will leave Whiter out in front by himself. But Matt Looker, he's decided, no, dangerous man here, Whiter, you can't let him go. I'll try and bridge across. But it looks like he's just brought everyone with him, and the bunch is back together. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone's got the legs for a counter-attack here. That will look like a difficult minute or 2 there. Maybe everyone is happy to sit in here. So if we go back through the field, we can see Mr. Suestra. He made the selection, was in the front group. I think he was the last man to get into the front group. He's just dropped off after that searing attack that we just had there. So he'll probably just ease off and go back to the group behind. You can see Henry Ford, we mentioned him earlier, tired legs after his 300k Audax. I think he's had enough for today and is just going to, is he going to stick out his tongue here in his avatar? Is he going to give us a wave? No, serious pro cyclist here is probably going to put the camera, wants to wave the camera away. But very impressive performance here, made the selection, but he's going to just use this as a warm-up day or kind of cool down day, like, you know, transition stage in the Tour de France, spin out the legs. As we go down through the field, here's some of the names we maybe haven't all got to see, but we have Mr. Barub here. Great to see him on the European servers. He probably had the option to ride the American Tour, but he's out riding tonight. Great to see. Great to have him on the Moonrider Tour. And then we have one of our Moonriders here, Francois Eker. And these guys are riding very well together. They're putting out good watts here. Like you can see, red numbers. So they're going up this little incline at the minute. And they're going to work together and try and, you know, minimize the gap to the lead the whole way through this race. So Francois is just taking the lead of the group, get them over this hump, and then you can see, I believe, is it Daniel Neubauer? I'm going to go with Daniel, but he's going to take over, and they're working very well, this group, just over, through and off, all sharing the lead, sharing the work, and everyone gets a bit of rest this way, and it's very impressive to see this teamwork. So whenever we go back, you can see just groups forming different parts of the course, and people are riding well as a group here. So we have Mr. Stevens, Lilburn, Quez, Linden. These are all very strong riders here, so they're just riding well together. Good to see. I think this is the problem once you get into the stage race. It's legs get tired, and you just have to find the right group to go with. It's very difficult to go with the lead group at the minute. So Mr. Hammond here at the minute, flying along, doing serious watts here by himself. 4.7 watts in kind of no man's land. very impressive to be doing this by himself. Hopefully he'll find a group. He's just off the back of that group we were at, 20 meters, so he just probably wants to bridge across. And if we go a bit further back, we have Mr. Roy here, and he has a big gap, kind of. He really is in no man's land at the minute, so he has to push on to see if he can make that group just ahead with about 5-6 riders. He's doing good watts here at the minute, 4 watts per kilo, 260 watts. Riding really well. If he does that for a couple of minutes, he might be able to get across. But you can see he's got plenty of riders behind him, so if he doesn't get across, he might be better waiting on some riders. You can see Mr. Simons here, he's also riding exceptionally strong, even though he's by himself. 330 watts here at this point in time. Maybe they're all just trying to show off whenever they're on camera. You know, they're trying to put out the big boy watts at this point. But it's very impressive riding by themselves, and I think people are just, it's a great test and tour. This 6 stages, your best 4 to count, so you've got a chance even if you just don't have it in 1 or 2 days. And so we go back, a Turkish rider, I would believe. So great to see all different nationalities taking part in the Moon Rider Tour. So the Moon Rider Tour, I suppose, just to give you why the team is called the Moon Riders. We all formed the team to take part in the Tour du Monde, and the Tour du Monde was circling the Earth, so we decided to go with the Moon Rider team. And you're racing on different courses from all around the world where our different members are from. We don't have any Portuguese men at the minute, but one Portuguese man going strong here is Cabra, and we have our Italian teammate Isidoro here, riding pretty strongly, an excellent climber. I'm surprised he didn't make the split with the opening climb. Maybe he just wasn't warm up, but he's kind of like our Italian pocket rocket, a bit like Pantani, flies up the climbs. But you can see these guys putting out good watts here. They're in the red at the minute, just going up a bit of a slope. And as we go back, we've got another group working well together. So Mr. Sanderson, Walker, Harrest. So working well here. You can see they've got a couple of people behind them. They're probably everyone's at this stage. I suppose it's hard to know at the minute, but we do have a gold and a silver rider's jersey. Some of these riders may be fighting hard for the silver rider classification. So every position counts, every second counts, even as we go down the field here. So see Mr. Holmes here, I believe it looks like, I can't see if they're red or white stars. I'm going to go that it's an Aussie rather than a Kiwi. But again, it's kind of impressive to see these watts that are coming out at the minute, even though these riders are by themselves and have been by themselves for a while at this stage. 343 watts, and still a long way to go. And as we go back through the field again, I think this is the first Norwegian rider of the day, so he's going to get the bragging rights in his country at the minute. He's looking pretty good here, riding at 300 watts. So you can see, even though there's been a big gap to the leaders at the front, it just shows the caliber of the riders at the front, because these guys are doing serious watts here at the back. They're not just hanging around or going for an easy ride. Even to sit in the wheel here, look, you're sitting at 200 odd watts briefly. But great numbers that we have going out here. So we're back in like 35th place, and there's still plenty more riders. So our Scot here, Lamont, he's gonna have to put in a wee bit of an effort. He's just let a bit of a gap open, and you can see he had the surge there, and with that surge he's just gone to the front of the group. It's very hard to get the feeling of staying perfectly in the draft in the online cycling. So sometimes you surge, and it can be a killer for later on, where you're just burning those matches, these kind of micro accelerations. But people riding really strong here. As I said, it just shows the caliber of the racing. So I believe this is one of our Australian Moon Rider, I believe, Mr. Goff. And we have a group of 3 just trying to work well together. So Rowan, Suds, and Goff. So kind of got a big gap to try and close up to anyone and a big gap behind them. So these three are probably going to roll in together. So hopefully they just work well together here, take the turns on the front and share the workload and get a good workout out of this race. So I'm intrigued, Riley, is there a gap? I was just about to ask, what's it like in the front? And we come back and we see the yellow jersey on the front. He's kind of infatigable, Wouter Claes, an absolute machine. I've tried to hold his wheel many times in the team time trial. And there's one rule that Moon Riders have is in the final kilometre, don't even try and come round Wouter. It's impossible. This man can hold serious watts. You can see here, just round a corner and he accelerates straight out of it. Just 330. This is probably just a tempo for him at the minute. You can see he was on the attack with another Moon Rider, Daniel Schoch. Maybe this was tactics. Two of them go at the start. Maybe Daniel was launching the attack and Daniel has gone back to the bunch and he's just, now that he's catapulted Wouter into the lead, he's letting everyone respond. So we can see a bit of a response here. So Gav Ash, he's doing serious watts with Mr. Gray. Is he going to try and get across? Just as I say that, he's kind of eased off slightly. Maybe he's afraid of dragging the whole bunch across. So we can see a gap of about 30 meters. It's slowly being clawed back. So Gray is kind of on the front of the bunch trying to drag Wouter back. And we're really starting another climb here. I'm not sure of the complete length of it, but going from my top corner here, it looks like it'll go on for at least a kilometre from here. Good steady one. And we're starting to see splits here in the bunch. So you can see there's about 7 riders just getting away. Brearley's kind of the last man. No, Steinle is just closing it. But we've got about 10 riders now. Matt Looker, it seems, has been dropped. Daniel Schoch, who I just mentioned, maybe launched the attack for Wouter. He maybe kind of did an Evenpool like in the World Championship where he just did all the work, went as hard as he could to try and sacrifice himself for the team leader. And he's now just dropped off the back of this group. So we're down to 10 riders. So it's really a battle of attrition at the minute. No attack is sticking, no one's really getting away, but we're constantly losing riders. And it's really, where we're really losing riders here are on little rises. So we can see this drag here at the minute. Wouter's setting a really hard tempo up it. He's actually been overtaken by Gav Ash. You can see he's just got a small gap, but everyone's still in contention here. Gaps are opening, but the elastic hasn't been snapped. And I think this group of well, it looks like we're down to 9. So Brearley, it looks like he's just being dropped off. The gap has opened up to about 15 meters for him. But we're down to about 9. This attrition is continuing. We can see Gav Ash is really putting the pressure on. And it looks like we have someone trying to bridge across now at the minute. I can't see who that is just at the minute. It is, well, I should have guessed it. It's Hededam and Griffiths. 2 riders I mentioned a lot in the early part of this race. They have been kind of very determined to push on. If they're not attacking, they're counter-attacking. If they're not counter-attacking, they're trying to bridge. But people are kind of, I think at this stage, riding their own tempos, just enough to hold in the group. I think maybe the bunch is thinking, look, we're okay with this gap. It hasn't grown out too much. Gav Ash himself, he's kind of riding steady. He put in a good attack there to get a gap, but he isn't really trying to push on. Maybe conserving his energy, seeing if someone's going to come across, just making sure that he has enough in the tank if someone comes across that he can respond. But as I say that, he's putting out a bit more watts now and just trying to extend that gap. So we're over 20 meters, and 20 meters on a hill is obviously it's going to extend here as we start the downhill. But it looks like we've got about 8 riders that have made it. As mentioned, it's kind of like one of these heavyweight boxing matches, just slug after slug, and kind of never. just constant attacks, and slowly but surely people are getting worn out here. Nothing's sticking so far. I think this might go the full 12 rounds. So we're about 19 kilometers through the stage, another 12 to go. I believe there's a climb right at the very end, so I can't remember the rest of the profile, but we'll see if this race is going to come back together, and if it, I suspect it will, but if it does, will people play it conservatively and wait for the climb at the end, or are we going to continue this kind of battle where we're just going to have attack, counter attack? It's been great to watch. And as I said, we've got some great riders here. If I was a betting man, I've got to go with, my heart. Got to go with Wighter. Has been superb so far in this series. I've seen what he can do week in, week out. And we know that he's got a great sprint finish. So maybe the other riders, they need to attack, get rid of Wighter. But he's a hard man to shake off the wheel. So we have a few riders accelerating here, just trying to close down that gap to Gav Ash, and a few riders maybe getting caught out. And that's forcing, riders to put out serious power there. So Griffiths and Samut, they just missed, maybe weren't paying attention. Maybe the computer just lags for a second, and you have to put out serious watts once you get dropped out of the draft. So you can see they were doing about 8 watts per kilo there, but they're back in, comfortable, and just a momentary lapse of concentration. And we're back again as this group of 7, it seemed, or 8. So, and here we go. Is Wighter winding up an attack? He's going for it, so we can see some big watts going out. You can see he's going red here at the minute. My screen resolution isn't great, but it looks like he was going about 6 watts per kilo or so. And people at the minute are staying fairly calm. You can see here that we're just riding a tempo in the bunch. I don't think people are worried about just one rider riding off the front. It's if we get this group of 3 or 4, that's whenever it gets really dangerous. And at this stage, it really doesn't matter what combination of 3 or 4 of them, because they're all such great, excellent riders. And here we go, headed down. Not content just to let Wighter ride off by himself. He's going to try and bridge here. He's got a bit of a gap to Samut, who's chasing him behind. So if we look from Wighter's perspective behind him, we can see these riders bridging across. So we have Samut and Hedadam, who have got a gap. They're in the middle. I would say they'll make it across. The question is, are the bunch going to let these two bridge across by themselves and join up with Wighter? It would be a deadly trio, and I suspect if they let that go away, it would be very hard to pull them back. So you can see Gav Ash is now actually on the front of the bunch, and Griffiths. So they're not content to let this go. They've got plenty left in their legs. They're going to stay attentive. They're going to push on. And just as this group of 2 make contact, we've still got a gap of about 50 meters. So this is looking dangerous. So we can see here, as they've come across, what they really need to do is just push on. Wighter's trying to do that. He's pushing nearly 5 watts per kilo, just making sure that, okay, I've got 2 riders across. We need to force this gap. Us 3 work together. Do not ease off here. Do not let this other bunch come back to us. So you can see Gav Ash, who's been riding super strong all day. He is sitting at the front, riding a really strong tempo here, just pulling people across. He's got Conton coming through, maybe to give him a hand here. And I think that there's what he needs. He just needs a bit of cooperation here from this chase group, not to let this group of 3 get away. If Conton comes through and pushes, they'll easily close this gap back down, but people are just happy to sit on Gav Ash's wheel, and this is just playing into the leader's hands at the minute. We'll see if we're going to get a bit more cooperation from this chase group, but at the minute it's all being left to Gav Ash. As I said, he had been infatigable earlier. Perhaps this is coming back to haunt him, because everybody is thinking, you know what, he's just going to draw this back. But as we've got a slight rise here, you can see this is whenever other people are going to try and bridge across. So they're going to jump. Mr. Gray here, he's doing some nice watts here. And we have the other Dean, Klinksgaard. Looked like they were going to try and bridge across, but just responding to the attacks of Mr. Gray in the group. And no one's really trying to, at this stage, everybody's looking out for themselves. They're not working as a group. They're just going to try and bide their time, wait for their opportunity to bridge across solo if they can. They're afraid of dragging anyone else back across. But it's good to see they are actually closing the gap back down. So just that little bit of acceleration in the group, people were able to hold on to the wheels and they're able to get close, but they haven't closed it down completely. We've still got nearly 20 meters of gap. Gav Ash, he is going to put the watts back on. He's doing good solid effort here, about 330 watts, slowly bringing it back. We're getting down to, well, we're still around 20 meters. And we're going to see, again, people are just leaving him on the front. No one else is really willing to come around and help him. The only time they come around is whenever they want to jump themselves and bridge by themselves. So good tactics, absolutely. So Klinksgaard, he sat on Gav Ash's wheel there and then saw his opportunity for a 5-second acceleration to get across the gap, and he's bridged those 20 meters. So you can see we now have a leading group of 4 with 4 chasing. And to me, it feels like it's make or break time for that second group of 4. So this front group of 4, we have Hiddedam's putting in a serious effort. We have Wight, who is just managing this group very well. He's sitting in second wheel in the yellow jersey, doing the real yellow jersey thing where he just has to follow attacks now. He doesn't really need to do anything himself, just control the group that he's in. He's doing a great job. So as Samut comes through, you can see he's coming and sitting on his wheel. And as I say, Wight doesn't need to do anything. He must be listening to me on camera. He decides he's going to accelerate past and go for a bit of an attack himself. And what they've done is they've actually been able to drop Klinksgaard, so who had just bridged across. Whenever he had put in an effort to get across, made a foursome up front, and these guys have just accelerated on, and Klinksgaard's legs just didn't have it after putting in an effort to bridge. So we're back to the original 3 that we had away, but we have a few more bridging across. So we've got another 3, making it 6. The other 2 riders in the lead group aren't far, so if these riders just sit up for a second or 2, I suspect we'll get back to 8. There's a gap of a couple of meters back to Gav Ash, and we have Klinksgaard a bit further back, but not far, and he's just making it back in there now, I believe. So I can see the 8 riders back together. You can see once that group of 3 got brought back by another 2 or 3 riders, the group gets too big, no one's willing to work, and it just gives an opportunity for the rest of the riders to come back in. And well, nothing's going to surprise me. I would have expected after some of this hard riding that we would have had a bit of a lull, but Hiddedam, who is, just attacking every opportunity he has. He's doing nearly 9 watts per kilo here, it looks to be on my screen with my lovely blurred numbers. So this is a serious effort. Legs are going to be stinging at this point. We've only got 6k to go. It's kind of getting to the point where you don't even want to let one rider go at this stage. He could solo away to victory by himself, but I don't think. There's still a lot of hungry riders in the group here behind, so particularly the man in yellow, Wight putting in good effort here to get across. Now I think Hiddedam sees this and he goes, you know what, I'm going to commit to this. Either I'm going to ride solo here or only 1 or 2 is going to get across to me. So he's putting in a serious effort here. He's got a gap of 40 meters himself to 2 riders, Samut and Wight, and there's a bit of a gap then just back to the bunch, another 10-15 meters. But I think Hiddedam is probably looking at the screens we are on the left here with the gap and the effort, and you can see he's not really forcing anyone to drop out of the group. People are relatively close, so he just eased off the pedals and let it come back together. But while he's done that, he might have eased off a bit too much, so he's actually let Wight and Samut go right past him, and they have opened up just a bit of a gap. And you can see now, just at the minute, we have two riders in the front with Headedam chasing. It looks like he's going to get on, and we're going to get back to the dangerous threesome that we had there a few minutes ago. And then we've got a group of 5 behind. And this gap is really starting to open. So, as I said, I think there's a climb at the end of this stage, and we're on a nice downhill section at the minute. It looks like it'll be hard to close back a gap on the descent. So I suspect that this trio are going to have just a small gap starting the final climb. And even the chase group behind, knowing that they have a climb at the end coming up so close, they're probably not willing to work to their full potential to close this down before the climb. So I suspect this one's going to go ahead. Some lovely bends in this course. The route has been magically created, it's lovely created on the magic roads. Very smooth bends. Gradients are lovely. I'm sure it's a pleasure to ride for these riders. So you can see there some of the riders getting into a bit of a tuck, just getting whatever rest they could on this downhill section. We've still got another good bit of a section here on the downhill. We're on a bit of a flat section here, but you can see on the map on the top right that there is another bit of a downhill section coming up. And we've got a serious gap now starting to open up. So Samut has actually dropped out of this group. I think it might have just been a momentary lapse of concentration on the descent, you know, where you maybe take a drink of water or you wiped a bit of sweat off yourself and you stop pedaling. And it's one thing I find in virtual cycling, the descending, if you're not paying attention, you can get dropped. So he's having to do a serious effort to get back in here. Now he got back in there with no issues at all, so he's got plenty of energy. But it's just one more match he's burnt before the finale. But this group of 3, they're really opening up a big gap. As I said, it might be hard for the group behind to motivate themselves to really work together before the final climb. And we're seeing that gap, it's now up to 170 metres. So this group that really couldn't be separated all race, just on the penultimate kind of last crest before we descended, one good counter attack, really hard attack, and people just not willing to follow those moves has led to a big gap opening here. And these are 3 riders that are going to commit hard here at the minute. So I think we're getting to the foot of the climb. So you can see we've got 3k left to go, and I think it's all uphill. So it'll be interesting to see who is going to be the best climber out of this bunch. We can see that Wight has gained a bit of a gap on his 2 other kind of breakaway compatriots here, and he's got just a 10 metre, 15 metre gap starting this climb, and Headedam does not want to give him an inch at the very bottom of this climb, so he's put in a good effort to try and bridge across right at the bottom. And it looks like we're going to have a battle of 2 heavyweights here going up, and Headedam's going to take the first swing here. He's just going to keep on doing the effort. So he did an effort there to bridge to Wight, and he isn't even going to just sit on his wheel. He's just going to go straight past him, and he's going to do the Lance Armstrong look and just go, "Here, you coming with me or what?" And Wight, at the minute, he has raised his watts, so you can see there, I think he's doing nearly 6 watts per kilo. Wight, Headedam's just doing nearly 7. It's hard to follow someone doing 7 watts per kilo. But Wight responded, but I think he's eased off a bit. He's more just sitting high 4s, 5 watts per kilo, and I think he's going to ride just his own tempo up this climb, try and hold off everyone else. And we can see actually in 3rd place is Gav Ash, who I talked about seemed to be riding really strong, kind of riding a really strong tempo the whole time in the bunch, maybe just didn't bridge across. And maybe this strong tempo is his forte. Maybe he's a time trialist and he's been just looking to pace it, keep the leaders within striking distance before this final climb, and then he just believes that his strong tempo up this climb will be enough to overcome everyone. So you can see he's closing in on Wight pretty quickly here. Gap is coming down fairly quickly. I mentioned that there was a 170 metre gap between the leaders and the chase group just before the climb, and that has just come down very, very quickly. And Gavash has gone into second place, and you can see he's accelerating as he goes past Wider. He just doesn't want to let anyone get onto his wheel at all. Even though the drafting effect is low, it's just the psychology of it that, I don't want someone to be able to pace off me. So he's opened up a bit of a gap. Wider's still looking really strong here by himself. So just riding a lovely tempo by himself. He's got still another gap to the other riders that aren't able to close it quickly. So to me, it's looking like it's a 2-horse race. We've got Mr. Hedadam, who has been superb the whole race, and we have Mr. Gavash, who is kind of riding a very smart race perhaps, just riding tempo, riding to his strengths. And you can see at the minute, Gavash is actually doing higher watts per kilo. Well, he was there. They're both riding close to 5 watts per kilo. And it's just maybe a question of who's pacing this better for the final few kilometres. But it's a very impressive ride by both these two leaders, Hedadam and Gavash, riding it very differently, both of them. Hedadam, who just attacked the whole way, and whereas Gavash just riding really steady and lovely and smooth. So this is looking like a difficult climb here. One I'd like to ride in real life. Lovely switchbacks. Lovely part of the world, I believe, the Isle of Wight, and there's a great circuit around it. And these riders are making it look easy. So Hedadam here, who, as I mentioned, has ridden superbly all day, still looks like he has got plenty of energy in the tank. You can see about 5 watts per kilo here. Hasn't really, once he made the attack to go to the front, his watts have just stayed high. He hasn't really reduced them. Seems to be pacing this really well. Knew what he was doing with his attacks, made sure that he had plenty of energy. And it looks like he should be able to hold off Gavash here for the victory. But as we come up, it looks like this road's going to get a bit steeper as we get up near the top. And we're not halfway up this climb yet. We started this climb with about 3k to go. We've got 1.7k to go, so we're not even halfway up. And as I say, it looks like this climb will get steeper. So we'll see just how well these legs respond from everyone. Are they able to hold it together? It's the first time I've seen Mr. Hedadam, his watts drop below 5 and 4. It was down into the 3s, but he's straight back up to the 6 watts per kilo and 440 watts. I'm kind of very jealous here, sitting here just dreaming about doing those watts. And he's really just kept this gap. He's been slowly increasing it, so you can see the gap to Gavash. It's actually ballooned out to 100 meters. I think it's just because we're getting on a slightly bit of a flatter road here. And I think Gavash is looking good to take first or second, really compete. But what we can see is we've got a couple of other riders that, maybe they've been listening to me and are trying to prove me wrong and are getting motivated by my commentary. So we've got Klinksgaard and Gray, who are coming really strong here at the minute. Perhaps working together. As I said, maybe you don't get the drafting benefit, but just psychologically riding beside each other. And you can see they're in similar coloured kits. I'm not sure if they're on the same team here. Perhaps it's a strategy, but you can see just riding around 5 watts per kilo. Riding really, really strong. So slightly different kits, as you can see. We have Decathlon, I think, is it, in the front, and another sky blue kit. I do like the sky blue, and it seems to be working well for them, the riders here at the minute. They're getting good vibes from the colours and able to push on strongly here. And they're closing this gap down to Gavash. Slowly, but they're getting there. So riding a great race here, these riders, and it's a real battle here at the minute for the podium. It does look like Hedadam is going to go to victory, but a great battle here for second and third place. So we're down to 1.2k to go, and we can see a lot of riders hitting the red numbers, really trying to put out an effort. So Klinksgaard here, you can see about 7 watts per kilo, just as it's getting really steep on the climb. I think the steeper it goes, this is generally whenever you want to put out your effort. You get your best bang for your buck, wattage wise, if you're doing it while it's steeper. So Klinksgaard kind of, wisely kind of bringing his watts down to about 4 watts per kilo, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see him, now that this road gets really steep here, to see Gray and Klingsgaard really accelerate up. So you can see Gray sitting at 5.5 watts per kilo. Klingsgaard, yeah, he's up into the high 5s. So looking really, really steep here at the minute, and they're getting very, very close to Gav Ash. So if they're able to just push on, but I know it's incredibly hard at this stage. You're just giving it whatever you can. I know everyone's looking at the avatars in front of them and going, I can get across, but it's agony at this stage, and this road is looking absolutely brutal. So 1k to go for second place. Gav Ash, he's riding really superb here. As I say, it seems to be the man. I'm suspecting he's a time trialist. He's master of pace in this session. The whole race, he's never panicked in the chase group, just rode his own tempo, and once we get onto this climb, he's just set his own pace, and even as the guys behind him have kind of got close, they haven't been able to bridge it, and it's just because Gav Ash is riding such a high tempo. It kind of reminds me of Bradley Wiggins back in the day. It might not be, Contador and really kind of exciting attack, but it's just really impressive to see someone riding at such a high tempo the whole way up the mountains. So it looks like we're getting onto the flatter sections now, again to the finish. So Heidedam probably has a couple of 100 meters to go, under 500 meters, and he's got a 300 meter lead. He's sure to have won this stage, but maybe he's trying to see if he can set a new FTP kind of effort here, because he's given it his all to the line. Flat out here, 6 watts per kilo at the end of the stage, even though he hasn't won, just buckets of motivation, and he's going to win this. It's been an exceptional ride, and he's done some great work matching his bike and his wheels with his race kit as well. All red. I wonder if he's trying to claim the Danish virtual cycling champions jersey, but it seems to suit him, and he's riding at an incredible standard here. He's finally kind of easing it up. Will he give us a wave? Oh, he does. Classy rider, giving us the wave just before he crosses the finish line. He's probably going to zip up his t-shirt and there we go, all smiles for the cameras as he crosses the line. Great race. And we have Gav Ash looking like he's going to come in ahead of group of 3 or fighting it out for third place. So Gav Ash, he's going to come into second, but it's all going to be who's going to take this third place. We've got 2 riders on each other's wheel. It's going to be a match sprint the whole way. So we see third place, we have Klingsgaard has really made the effort here. He's got a gap just behind, and I don't think Gray has been able to respond in time. He's got plenty of energy, just wasn't kind of on the button, wasn't able to respond instantaneously, and just we got the gap. Griffiths, I think another rider has said, was exceptional today, just always on the attack, counter-attacking, responded to everything. He comes home for a well-earned 5th place. And my man Weiser, my tip for the day, he's going to fight for every point he can in the yellow jersey. I'm sure he'll be delighted. He doesn't like the big uphill finishes, so he'll be delighted with that 6th place. And Frenchman Christophe Contant, chapeau, my friend. And Samut, then the last man of the 8 that stayed together, another excellent ride. He was very attacking throughout the race as well. And well done, Poco Motion. So scoring some nice points there. I'm sure all the riders are happy to be finished that stage and doing a bit of a warm down. Steinle, he's got a big gap here now he's assured of his 9th place. He's going to be able to roll in easy here, but he might give us a wave to show us that he's all feeling great if he's listening. Just enjoying the day here, able to ease off, get over the finish line, no panicking about sprinting for positions. So he rolls in, fair play, into 9th place. Mr. Looker, he has been riding very well as well, was part of that strong group that got away. We missed how he got dropped from the group. We missed how exactly. I'm kind of surprised, but kind of the best of the rest almost didn't make it to the climb in that group of 8 and kind of leading the rest of the riders back through. So fair play to Looker. We have some party men now coming behind. So Mr. Brearley here, he's going to just pit one of my other Moonrider club mates. In fact, two of them. They're looking very strong here at the finish, over 300 watts. I'm really surprised. These riders, you know, they've got big gaps. I would be just rolling over the line. Two Moonriders going to roll in together. Great ride. As we said earlier, Daniel Shook, he was in the breakaway there earlier and seemed to launch an attack for Wight, and that helped break up the race. And after that, his work was done. He kind of came back to the bunch. He's recovered and he's rolling in here with Henry Farr. Henry is a great all-rounder, great man for the team time trials, great hill climber. As mentioned, this weekend did a very long ride. So these guys, they've done their work over the last few days, and they're just rolling in together, having a great time here. But we're going to have a fight for second place Moonrider. Daniel has gone early. He's gone early. Henry's coming. Oh, is he going to get him? He comes over the top. Henry's having none of it. Trying to prove that his legs, you know, they still work fine after that. Great ride here from Barub. And we have Mr. Stevens here, another Moonrider. So I think this is 4 riders home for Moonriders. So a great result for the team. I think they'll be delighted in their home race. So Sviestra here, we mentioned him earlier. He was the last man to bridge the group in the very opening stages, but into the leading group of about 15 riders. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. Hammond here, he is going to roll in here. He's happy with his ride. 17th place in this field is a great result, and only a couple of minutes down on the leaders. Francois Iker, another very strong ride from Moonriders, but we had a sprint finish there, but he was just able to hold him off. So it's great to see some of our Canadian friends coming across riding in Europe. He had the choice to ride in the American Tour as well, but is here. It's probably lunchtime there at the minute. This could suit him well. So he'll earn a nice big lunch after this. I'm sure he'll be tucking back a few nice tasty sandwiches. Doing serious watts here to finish off. 5.4 watts per kilo, 330 watts. He's only got 250 meters to go. He's going to just give it everything to the line. So no easing off here. 5 watts per kilo. And so riders don't have too much recovery in the tour. Stage 5 actually is tomorrow, I believe. So after this effort of the big hills, got to make sure you do a good warm down now. Spin out the legs here, Stana, because you got to do it all again tomorrow. And we have Simons here. The Belgians seem to have plenty of strong riders. So again, I'm majorly impressed by the watts at the finish here. 5 watts per kilo, no problem the whole way up. It just goes to show like the standard of the earlier riders. So like Simons rolls in here for 21st place, Cabra just behind him. This will be our first Portuguese rider home, and again doing good wattages. You can see Mr. Roy here, 5 watts per kilo. Like, they're not holding back. 350 watts here. It just really proves the standard of the front of the group and how hard it is to stay in it. You really have to dig deep, and if you cannot bridge that gap, it just makes such a difference on your the time gap at the end, because these are very strong riders and they're putting out serious watts here. So proper sprint finish, 7 watts per kilo at the end. And then we have our Turkish rider here with a lovely jersey. Haven't seen that jersey before. And then we have our Aussie homes. So I believe this will be our first Aussie home. So fair play to you. This is a morning ride for him. He's going to tuck into his nice tasty breakfast this morning. And Isidoro, I mentioned great climber from Moonriders. As I said, I always think of him as Pantani. He's always like willing to really dig deep and accelerate on the climbs. So you can see he moved up the field there on this final climb, I'm sure. I'm going to go back. We have Lyndon, another name you see is a regular in the RGT races, really solid rider, and he is finishing strongly here at, well, he was doing 4.5 watts per kilo. He's just maybe eased it off, but no, he's going to put on a show for the camera here, I'm hoping. He's going to put in a proper sprint finish. You can see, yeah, there we go, up 340 watts to finish. And we have a Spanish rider who was chasing him down hard, just ran out of road. You can see he's putting out serious effort here at the end, 450 watts just before he finishes. He was probably thinking, I've got him, but he'll be happy with that, top 30. And now we have some of the other riders. So we have Mr. Lilburn here, another Aussie that's probably riding before he's even eaten his breakfast, maybe just running on coffee here, warming up his body for the day, but he'll be happy with that. He's ready for a day's work now. He might be falling asleep at the desk after today's effort, who knows. I'm sure a lot of people were hoping for an easy day, but the Isle of Wight isn't flat, as we've learned. And we're going to go back. It looks like we might have a bit of a sprint here for this last one. Sanderson's having to fight hard here, but we've got Fox on his wheel, and we're going to have a right out battle here. Everyone's fighting. This is for top 30. Fox is coming. Can Sanderson hold on? It looks like he might just, and he does. Yeah, Fox, it looked like he was going to come around him, but once he got out of the slipstream, you could see he just couldn't get him. And then Walker, he was probably with those guys, but wasn't able to respond at the end. So Walker rides for OTR. I suppose at this stage I maybe just want to promote a Christmas kind of event that OTR and Moon Riders are holding for charity. There are a few races, and I think it's the ABC Tour. So it's going to be money for a children's charity, and so hopefully all you RGT riders will come out and just make a voluntary donation to ride some of the events during it. So even us RGT rivals, I know I was always hoping to beat OTR in the team time trial. You know, we can come together and, you know, hopefully make some good. So hopefully people will ride that event and donate some money to charity. So we have our Scottish man Lamont here at the minute, riding hard here, 4 watts per kilo, a couple of 100 meters left to go. He's got a big gap to everyone behind him, so he can kind of relax, just ride a steady pace himself into the finish. He's looking very strong here, just riding lovely tempo the whole way, sitting very, very comfortably. He's just got 100 meters to go, but I'm sure he'll be happy to just spin out the legs whenever he's finished and get starting his warm down. So we're coming up to the line, and Lamont is finished. So unfortunately, he's just got pit. I'm sure there are a few other Scottish riders in front of him as well, but he didn't quite beat his compatriot Walker. So we go to perhaps our first Polish rider, Harest. He's going to come home, looking very strong. And we go back to one of the Danes. The Danes, I'm sure everyone knows, never underestimate any Dane on RGT. They're all exceptionally strong, and Helveg here is finishing very strong here as well, putting in a good effort, about 300 watts. I'm in awe here of all the riders still willing to give it their all in the final couple of 100 meters. And our first Norwegian man, Ulstensen, I think he rides for 3R. He's looking strong here as well. He's going to cruise up over the line, doing good effort here to finish. 350 watts, just get all the last juice he can get out of himself. And there we go. And so we can see some of the other riders going a bit slower up this climb with the low cadence. It was funny, a lot of these riders we maybe saw working in groups together on the flat stage, but once you got to the final hill, it was every man for themselves. And that's what we're seeing now. Rowan, he's saying goodbye to his Belgian countryman, and he's going, no, I'm going to put in this effort now. We've got 800 meters to go, and I'm going to make you suffer the whole way to the finish. So you can see the Shad, he has no real response for him at the minute, and I think he's just going to let Rowan go. But it's a long way to go, 700 meters uphill. It can be closed quite easily, gaps. sure these riders are just praying for the finish at this stage. I think they're on a kind of like false flat finish. The climb seems to really end about 700 meters to go, and then it's just this false flat where it probably feels flat after how steep the earlier sections were. But there's no race to the finish on this circuit, it seems, and you really have to just keep on pushing it. So Rowan's doing a great job here. You can see he's in the orange and red sections of his power, so he's really kind of giving it his all at the finish. He just wants to make sure that he's going to stay ahead of his Belgian teammate, and he looks like he will do that quite comfortably, but he's going to put out the effort just to make sure. It's great to see great numbers for this tour. So you can see we're at the minute we've got the 37th rider coming in, and there's still plenty of riders out on field. Great support for this tour. I think it's great to see all different style of events being promoted by the community, and everyone trying to innovate and give something a bit different. So I hope everyone that is riding the tour is really enjoying it, and it's motivating them, and they're seeing performance boosts and getting something from it. So the Belgian rider who was just overtaken by his countryman, he comes home here. I'm sure he's happy with his ride. And we go back to Suds here. He's putting out a good effort here to finish off. Near 4 watts per kilo. And Goff here from Australia. Again, another man maybe hasn't had his breakfast yet, but at least he's not freezing like we are in Europe at the minute. He's probably got nice 25 degrees weather, probably complaining that it's too hot to cycle indoors. But you can see it's great to see people from all around the world able to participate and get some training. And Goff is going to finish home, cruising home here, looking very comfortable at the end. And we have a second Portuguese rider, so good to see the Portuguese rider community taking off. Alves here. Looks like he's just riding a nice tempo home. He's done his hard work for the day, and he's going to cruise home. He's only got about 100 meters left, and he's got no one challenging him for the sprint finish. So he's happy just to cruise home. And we've got another Antipodean. I can't tell with the flag if they're white or red stars, but again, I think another Aussie. So Crichton, he's one of these guys that he's maybe doing hit intervals here before his breakfast. You can see he was up there in the red and just eased off now. He was really giving it all. So we go back to the European. We've got another German man here, Reitze. Hopefully I'm not butchering that too badly. He's cruising in at this stage. Done his hard work. He's got 500 meters gap to Gilbert behind him, so he's just happy to start his cool down early. He's got 300 meters to the end. Just going to spin it in. No point wasting effort. He's got another stage tomorrow. I'll check where that stage is tomorrow. We finish in Dublin, so we finish in my city on Friday for an individual time trial that goes around. If anyone remembers the 98 Tour de France, they remember it all for bad things, mainly the Festina affair, but it started in Dublin that year, and we're going to basically copy the prologue route. We're going to add a section onto it to make it a loop, and we're going to go do 2 laps of that. So that'll be the final stage on Friday. But before that, I have to find the stage on. I'll go on to rgtdb.com to get all the race details. As I mentioned, great community on RGT, and RGTDB is another one of those innovations by the community. So it's great to have. So I'll find out what our stage will be tomorrow. But as I said, we have Reitze here just cruising in. I suspect he is saving his legs for tomorrow's stage, and no one is really challenging him at the minute. So He's just cruising in here. Oh, so we actually go to Drayton Valley, which is in Canada. So this is the home of one of our Canadian moon riders. I suspect it'll be very flat and very fast. So a complete change from today. And we have Gilbert here. Gilbert, he's willing to put out a bit of an effort here. He's not willing to just cruise in. Wants to get the most out of him on his race day. Maybe the wife is complaining he spends too many times riding bikes and she's trying to cut him down, so he's trying to make the best of his effort. He looks behind him to make sure that no one is coming, and he sees that no one is, and he's just easing off the pedals before he gets to the finish line here. So he's going to cruise over. He's happy with his effort, and we can see here's someone that's doing a big effort. So that's why Gilbert was looking over his shoulder, because we can see Skater, the American, was coming flying on his heels at the finish. So we have IK here from Germany. Again, this is a man that has a big gap to everyone else. No point putting out any effort. May as well just cool down. Got all the hard work done for the day. Got a good training session. Enjoyed it. Just going to start to cool down early, and that's the plan. As I said, stage in Drayton Valley tomorrow. I'll see if we can get the profile up. Well, you know what? It's not as flat as I made out, but still a lot less climbing than today. So you can see 680 meters today that we've climbed. Wilkinson here, he's nearly climbed those 680s at 660 meters so far, and just about to finish. Tomorrow we have 350 meters of climbing, but a slightly longer stage, 42 kilometers. So not pancake flat as I was expecting, but fairly flat. And you'll see for the first 20k of that stage tomorrow, it's a fairly flat road. So it'll be hard to get a breakaway, I suspect. The major climb coming pretty much halfway tomorrow. So I suspect that with the flat roads, very straight roads in the first half, the bunch should be able to stick together. And then I'd say we'll probably see a selection in the second half of the race once the climb comes and we get a few more corners in on the circuit. So Wilkinson, as I said, he's got 680 meters to climb. He's nearly there. He's got 100 meters to go. He's going to climb the last of these meters, and that's him finished for the day. He's got better make sure and accelerate and get across the line before this Dutchman that's coming up right behind him. Oh no, he kind of was relaxing too much. The Dutchman came out of nowhere and just not only took his wallet, took his watch, took whatever, took his suit, took everything from him right on the line. So our Spanish man Fernandez, he's cruising in here at the minute as well. Again, big gap back to the rest of the riders, so he's just going to cruise here at the minute, riding it. I'm going to say more a tempo kind of ride, just controlling it on the final climb. So fair play to him. It's a great ride by everyone. You can see good wattages by everyone at the end of this stage. And I'm looking down through the bunch and I can see my teammate Wight here down in 55th place. One of our Polish superstars that we've ridden a lot of team time trials together. So I think he's having an easy day here today, saving his legs. As I said, there was a lot of chat on the Moon Riders Discord today about tactics and what they were going to do. Perhaps this is why Wight is taking it very easy today, just relaxing, saving his legs to help teammates in final stages. I wouldn't be surprised. He's a very generous rider, always happy to try and help people and try tactics. But Fernandez here, as I mentioned, he has no one really near him, so he's able to cruise in here by himself. Good finish, just riding a nice tempo the whole way up. Looks very comfortable. And oh, now we could have a bit of excitement here. We've got 3 riders together. We're going to have a battle here. We're fighting for 50th place here, really. So can you get a top 50? We've got 400 meters to go. We've got someone making a move early. Now remember, we're down to 400 meters. It's all uphill, so 400 meters, it's a long way to go. Ericsson had made his move, and you can see he's eased off the Watts, and you can see, look, here comes the Spanish man. Is he going to go right over the top of him? No. He's just going to close it down and sit there. And Django's just riding a steady pace. I suspect he'll get back on, riding a bit steadier, trying to save his energy. But it looks like Django is just going to let them go. And here goes our Spanish Liendo. He's made a move, and he's not easing off. Yeah, he's going 160 meters. This is going to hurt. This is all uphill, so it's a long way. Even if it's only 200 meters, it feels like a long way. But he's confident. He's done enough. Ericsson is eased off. He's got a 50-meter gap. He knows he's done enough, so he's eased off. He's just going to cruise across the line now at this stage. So Ericsson, he's making the big effort now, but he's just left it too late. Liendo has cruised in past the line, but that was a good battle there. And even Django, as we said, who was maybe kind of pacing it a bit steadier, he was very close to catching them on the line. So this is my good friend VTech here. So as I said, cruising up here, strong rider. I think this is some Moonrider tactics for tomorrow. And he has just been tipping around the course there today. And we have the duck. So he is looking very strong. This will be our third Portuguese rider in today. And he's about to cross the line. No bother to the duck. And we go back to... There's a lot of German riders out today, so we have Hassert here. Just about 50 meters to go. Wearing the classic black RGT kit. It really is a classic, everything looks good in it. And we go back to Mertens. I think he's a big supporter of EF Education First. He's kind of wearing a similar coloured kit. Hopefully he's riding the appropriate bicycle, or else they will fine him, just like was it Higuita, who's transferring teams and wasn't riding EF Education First bikes, so he got fined. So I hope this guy is on sponsor correct bikes. But looking very good in the pink and blue, and looking very comfortable, cooling down already. And we'll go back, and he's just cruising into the finish here. He's got 24 meters, and that was a nice day out there for Mertens. Louis here, you can see the low cadence. I suspect he's on one of the trainers that accurately kind of simulates all the gradients, so real low cadence. And you can see just on this road, it looks pretty steep, the section that he's on at the minute, and you can see the real low cadence. So I suspect that he's not cheating. He's got his trainer settings on 100%, and he's feeling every percentage of climb that he's going up there at the minute. And I think he's just about to crest that real steep part and get onto the false flat. And you can see his cadence just increasing very marginally, I think, as he gets over it. So he's got about 800 meters to go. He's got a big gap to another Belgian teammate behind him. So, well, he's cruising at the minute. I don't know if he can keep cruising at that speed and stay ahead of Lemons. It'll be interesting to see. But he has a very handsome lead here and should be able to just cruise in. And there you can see now maybe more clearly his cadence just increasing now, and he's stopped pedaling because he's kind of on the flatter section. Able to relax that ever so slightly. And he is relaxing at this stage. 50 watts, I think. If there's anyone that's doing a cool down, getting ready for tomorrow's stage, it's this man. And he seems very comfortable. I said Lemons behind might be able to close the gap. You can see on the chart on the left, we've got 1.4 watts per kilo versus 2.6 watts per kilo. But I think Lemons has just left it too late. Louis has a big lead here, and whenever he needs to, you can see he's up in the power. He's back up to 150 watts, and he's just going to keep on going to the finish. Happy with today's effort. And so just looking at the numbers, 60 riders out are going to finish today, so superb to see all the support for this tour. Hope everyone's enjoying it. I know it's been a lot of fun kind of conceptualizing the tour and getting it running, and we've also had a lot of help from the community, in particular V-Cycling News. So Riley, who you saw on the opening sequence of today's video, and Mike Lister, they've been a great help and source of knowledge getting us going. And I think it's great for all of us that can sit back and watch this, and we all got our moment in the sun getting shown in the camera as well. So thanks very much to the community. I'll hopefully get back racing myself at some stage. I'm kind of getting envious watching all of this. But Louis here, he's about to finish. As I mentioned, looked like he might have had a chance of getting closed down, but he's very comfortable. He's got 200 meters to go, and he's just cruising into the finish line. He might give us a wave if he's watching. Doesn't look like we're big in Belgium yet. We're going to have to try and work on our audience, get a wider network. But he's looking pretty good in the classic red and black kit.
Thanks for doing the heavy lifting and all the commentary there, Ross.
No bother, Riley. Are we still on air?
We're still on air. I was just going to jump in and say about Drayton Valley. It resides in the Alberta prairies and the Rockies. So it's not mountainous, but it's hardly ever flat. It's well known for the pollen lining the roads, which it can drop down to about 15 centimeters deep. Looks like snow.
That would be interesting to ride in.
Yeah, something different, I think. Wouldn't be good for your allergies, though.
Yeah, I wonder, has RGT started, instead of our Europe map with the rain, I wonder, can we get full in pollen instead? But the other thing it's famous for, some strong riders, Moon Riders have adopted a couple of strong riders from that area on their team, who've been lighting it up on the American races in RGT. So I wonder, I haven't been actively watching the American races, but they need to watch out for our riders, the Moon Riders on the American tour as well.
Stefan Audette and Scott Kerry.
Scott, yes. I think Audette has been winning a couple of stages, and then he had a technical issue coming up to one of the sprint finishes, and Scott's just, infatigable as well.
That's fantastic.
So we have Lemons here coming to the finish, 250 meters. I thought he might catch his countryman, but doesn't look like it. What do you think of today's race, Riley? Were the usual suspects that were fighting it out in the end, or did you have any favourites? Who did you think was going to win?
Well, when I saw Casper was in the lineup, I was really intrigued. I've watched Casper do a lot of racing recently on RGT. He's a phenomenally strong rider, triathlete in real life, and he can just go watts for hours. I'm always a bit surprised about where he attacks. It seems like his power would be better suited to be used on the greener sections, the flatter sections, and I kind of expect him to use those points to drop the rest of the riders, but doesn't seem to do it the way I expect him to.
Yeah, well, I just was in awe of, it was constant attacks from him. I was really surprised that he was just able to always respond. Even if he had just attacked and someone countered, he still had an answer. So very, very well deserved victory.
Yeah, it was good to see the way that Gavash performed. He did quite a lot of the work in the race, and just at the end he seemed to have just paced himself a little bit better than everyone else did.
Yeah, and that was it. And like, if some of the chase group had helped him a bit, you know, I think he really could have been a contender for the victory here today. And just it seemed like no one was willing to come round and help him. That he was almost too strong in the earlier sections. But he was superb on the final climb. Just, you know, as you mentioned, paced it perfectly. And I'd say he basically matched. Is it Karsten that won it? Is that his first name? He almost matched him on the climb, I would guess.
Yeah, it's Casper Hededam that won it. But I often make a comment that the teams have discords within themselves, so they know what each of the rider on their team's doing. But when you're looking at a general group of mixed teams, there's no group discord, so there's no way that Gav could have turned around and said, look guys, you know, they're going to break away, I'll do some work with me. And you know, sometimes that's what's different between virtual cycling and the road cycling. You can see a strong group letting a lone rider go free and not really closing them down when they have the firepower to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I think you still do get these situations in real life cycling, because, you know, you just are playing your hand and you don't want to work with someone. But as you say, you can always turn around and talk to them in real life and say, look, come on guys, think about this, common good, we work together, we'll get them. Whereas, as you say, Gav just can't turn around to the riders here. Maybe RGT needs to introduce, you know, the elbow flick. I think they have it in Zwift, do they? Or sorry, I'm not allowed to mention the orange platform here, but like something just to, or like a wave through to try and indicate that you want a bit of help. I'm not sure if you would get any help if you press that button anyway, but it's one of the interesting parts of virtual cycling here, is the fact that you can't talk.
Yeah, we're not against Zwift. It's not my favourite platform, but not against it. It's horses for courses. Lots of people like it. They've got a big following. I think one of the things that has been discussed and was talked about is whether you'd have like an area effect chat. So if you could switch it so that you could have it, your messages would only be seen by people 10, 20 meters away from you. And I think that is something that could work in the game and isn't something that would be technically too hard to implement.
Yeah, no, it'd be something interesting, all right. It would open up another world of tactics. It's going to be interesting to see how all this virtual cycling really evolves. There's a lot of potential, and I'm a big fan of RGT. I think it's going in the right direction, and it seems very willing to take kind of suggestions on board and try it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was in some sort of beta version at some stage.
Yeah, they've already shown how willing they are to take on challenges. Are going to take on the comments of the users and implement them, and we can see that already happening. We had a race on Thursday where we did it on the Tempelhof circuit, and it came up about the lapped riders and getting sat in behind, getting stuck. And then today, a new update to the drafting's brought out. You don't get hooked behind the lap riders as much. Complaint about lap riders jumping on and helping maybe their teammate who's on an alternative lap. So now, if you're a lapped rider, you don't get as much of a drafting benefit if you jump onto a rider that's on the lap ahead of you. So these are things that are affecting that and changing the race dynamics and listening to the users. So it's great to hear, and it's good to see how quickly they're reacting.
Well, that's what amazes me. It's not just the fact that they're willing to adapt and make changes. It's to be able to find solutions and implement them so quickly and test them. You're talking in the matter of a week. That sounds incredible to me. But I'm just looking here at Mr. Hurst that's finishing here. You might be able to help me, Riley. Yeah, but I believe the O kind of suffix, is that for masters racers?
Yeah, he's It is the age bracket. I couldn't tell you what actual aid it relates to though.
Yeah, well, we don't want to give away too much about his age online here, but I'm suspecting, we're getting up into the slightly older age groups. Hopefully I'm not misreading that, but just fair play to Mr. Hurst here. He's coming up to the end. He's getting onto the flatter section here, and that was a tough stage, and it looks like he's done the whole climb here by himself at the end. I reckon he's an old school rider. He doesn't go for the helmet or anything either. But it's great to see 60 riders out and finishing, and everyone getting home here at the end. And he's still going here at the end. Like he's like, it's not like he's going near 3 watts per kilo here, 200 watts. Fair play to him.
He puts out quite a lot of effort here. I'm pretty sure it's Ian, and I think he's raced all of the stages of the Moon Riders Tour. He races quite frequently. He's a good lad. He's on the bike a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if he's listening. Will he be able to give us a wave just before he crosses the line? I know some. I have before been listening, and I tether my phone to the connection, so I can't actually, interact anyway, even if I want to. But we got 1 or 2 reactions today. Casper that won, he gave us the wave before he was finishing. Knew he was obviously on camera.
Yeah, Casper's part of the CKD club. Big contingent in Denmark. They've got a lot of riders.
It's a strong team. Those Danes can ride.
Yeah, there's another rider called Rasmus Feldbal. You often see him and Casper battling out at the front of the race, and when you see the two of them in a race, you know it's going to light up. You can't let them go.
So Wight did well today. I think he was 6th. Do you think, will he be doing enough to maintain his gold and yellow jersey?
I think he's close, but I think Gav might have just pipped him with that performance.
Okay,
Casper,
so it could go.
You see Ian over the line.
Fair play, Ian.
And we'll just have a quick look at the table.
Yeah, so I suspect you're right. I think there'll be a greater than 20 points difference in stage 4, which would allow Gav to kind of leapfrog Wight. But it goes to show it's all to play for, and it's going to come down to which races you're dropping. If you do complete all 6 stages, you're only taking your best 4, and you can see Gav has a 165 that could drop out. So it'll be really, really interesting. It'll come right down to the final time trial. And very impressive riding by Mark Steinle. So silver rider who's high up there overall, in 3rd place overall. Is there anyone else you're looking at that you think could potentially challenge at the end? Or do you think it's between Wight and Gav?
Well, there was Stephen Braley and Matt Looker in the race, who are both strong riders, but they faded a little bit tonight. I don't know whether they've been doing some other race series in between, but they've been looking really strong in some of the earlier rides, and then, like I say, tonight, just not quite on the pace.
Yeah, and we could see there, Matt, he's missed a stage. So it'll be harder for him to drop one of his. Well, he won't be able to drop 2 of his week scores. He'll only be able to drop 1 of his, and it's the same with Brearley. So they're kind of at a bit of a disadvantage there. But yeah, it'll be guesswork on who's actually going to take home the yellow jersey right until the very end, because maybe it's tactical not doing all the stages.
Yeah, it's big part of the tactics, and it's an interesting thing of the 4 of 6 strategy.
Yeah, and I might just take. You might allow me a moment of indulgence just to also mention another series that Moonriders are going to launch, the Heroica series, which will follow a similar kind of pattern. I think it's 8 races, but it will be a weekly race rather than, you can see this stage races has 6 races within 2 weeks. So it'll be 8 stages, or maybe it's 12 stages, 1 a week, and it's your best 8 to score. So that's starting, I think, the week after the Moonriders Tour finishes. So it might be an interesting series for people if they like this format.
Yeah, I think this format works really well for people because not everyone can ride every night. So having that ability, that flexibility to drop a race here and there when life gets in the way, it really works.
Absolutely. Well, here, hopefully I didn't scare off all your listeners today and they enjoyed having a slightly different voice to listen to, but I'm going to sign off. But it was fun. Thanks for letting me do it today, Riley.
It was fantastic having you along, and it'd be great to have you along in future.
Yeah, no, hopefully I'll be able to join you for Friday just to talk about the final time trial, and perhaps we can talk about all the permutation of results that are possible.
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, thanks, and bye to anyone that's still listening.
Thanks a lot, Ross. Catch you next time. And to anyone that is still watching, have a good evening.